going to show you how to make this Deco mesh wreath for the upcoming holiday season. You may have seen these in your local retail stores, but they can get a little bit pricey. So for a fraction of the cost, we're going to show you how you can make your own today. So you can customize it the way you want to match your decor, and you get the satisfaction of knowing that you made something for your home. These wreaths are great because the mesh comes in pretty much any color, so you can match your home or you can do it for any occasion. You can do red, white, and blue for the 4th of July, or even match your favorite football team's colors. You could also add a monogram to make a great inexpensive gift. To
make your wreath, you only need a few materials. Most of these can be found at your local craft store. The first material is a wire frame. This particular frame is 12 inches. You can get these bigger or smaller depending on what size you want your final wreath to be. The second material is Deco mesh ribbon. This particular ribbon is a little bit wider. It's 21 inches wide. There's 30 feet of this ribbon. Typically for a 12-inch wreath, you're going to need about 50 to 60 feet of ribbon. So what we plan to do is just to cut this in half. That'll give us 60 feet total. You'll need a sharp pair of scissors, and you will need a pack of pipe cleaners. We recommend that you get a color that's close to your ribbon color. That way nothing will show through. And then finally, depending on what type of wreath you want to do, since ours is a Christmas wreath, we picked several embellishments that are Christmassy. The first is just some ornaments and some little squigglies, some ribbons and sparkly things like that. And these are the materials that you'll need to make your wreath.
Okay, now that Jenny has showed you all the materials that you will need to make your wreath, we'll go ahead and start the process. The first thing that I've done is I have cut the 30-piece length of ribbon into shorter, more manageable pieces, so about 5 to 6 feet will do. First you need a pipe cleaner. You will take the pipe cleaner, and since they're a bit long, fold them in half and then cut it in half with the scissors. So once those are cut in half, you'll take the end of the ribbon and you'll bunch it together, and you'll take the pipe cleaner and wrap it around, tightening it down just like you would a loaf of bread. So once that's tightened down, you leave enough to attach to the end, or to the wire wreath. So come in and we'll attach it to one section of the wire wreath. Doesn't matter which, just as long as it's secure and in place enough for you to loop it around the wire. Okay, so once that's done, you'll take your wire mesh and you will start to make loops. And when you make your loop, you want to thread the ribbon through the wire wreath to make sure everything sort of stays in place. So thread it through the bottom section of the wire wreath, and we'll thread and thread, just like threading a needle. Not as easy, but same process. Then, once that's there, we'll take the other end, or we'll take the same end that we threaded through the bottom, and we will thread through the top. No, I'm sorry. Over, and then through the bottom again. So we have threaded it through the bottom of the wire frame, and now we're going to come back over the back and over the top, and then we'll thread it again through the bottom part of the wire frame, just like we did the first time. So now you can see that it's starting to make really big, pretty loops. And so now that we've done that, we will sort of alternate our threading pattern, and now we'll go up through the top because we want to try and cover the wire as much as possible on the top and bottom so it doesn't show through so obviously once the wreath is done. Okay. And we'll just continue to alternate our threading patterns, that way we can hide that wire as much as possible. sometimes this is a little difficult, so you've got to kind of work with it. This ribbon is not necessarily the easiest thing to work with, but it does turn out really well in the end. So, and just continue to thread this through. Again, hiding that wire, bunching it up as we go, so that way we are getting as close and as big, full of a wreath as possible. All right, and you'll just continue to do this with each section of ribbon until you have a full wreath to your satisfaction. All right, so as you can see, we have threaded most of the ribbon through the wire frame, and you can see that it's nice and full with lots of loops. You can hardly see that mesh frame in the back. So we've got our last section right here, and we're just gonna, I'll let you follow along with this last piece to kind of give you a better idea of how to cap it off. So you take your pipe cleaner and do like you did the very first time and just tie this last section down, and you'll just continue to thread with this section just like you've been doing. Okay. Takes a little bit of finesse, but once you get going, kind of get a rhythm. And we're almost at the end, so just a few more loops and we should have a full, nice wreath, and then we can start the embellishment phase of the process. So a few more loops. And once you get to the end, you're going to come back to where you started. So you'll come So now that you have your Deco mesh wreath completed, we'll start on the embellishment phase of the process. As you can see here, as Jenny showed you earlier, we have some embellishments, nice sparkly Christmassy themed stuff. So what you want to do is you want to look at your wreath and see where the least full section is, and you want to put the embellishments in that spot so that way you can sort of fill in that section, make it look as appealing as possible. So the first step when you're doing this with the embellishments is to just place them on top of the wreath to kind of see where you want your embellishments placed, to see what looks best to you, what you like. So just kind of lay them on the wreath like this, or just figure out a way that you like, and then once you have them placed properly, then you can take them off the wreath and have that placement in your head, and then start to attach them to the wire frame. So now that you have an idea of where you want your embellishments placed on the wreath, we will start the attachment process. So I am going to take the stem of my first embellishment and weave it through the wire frame underneath. And you can attach it any way you want, just any way that makes sense, so you cannot see the stem of the embellishment, so that way everything is sort of seamless in the wreath. You may have to play with the loops a little bit to kind of hide the stems of your embellishments, but that's okay. And then we'll take our second one, the Christmas ornaments, and we will place that one wherever is appropriate from our previous arrangement idea. Okay, just kind of play with everything and kind of get it in the right spot. Take the third one, red glitter twirlies, and you may have to stand the wreath up a little bit to kind of maneuver these things through the wire frame underneath, but that's perfectly okay because you've got to do what you got to do. All right, so I'm about to place the last embellishment onto the wreath, and we're just going to take this one through the wire frame like we did the others, and just twist it back so we can have it right where we want it. Like I said, you may have to play with the embellishments a little bit if they're, you know, wiry like this, just to kind of get them where you want them. And once you have them attached, and that is, actually I'm going to use some pipe cleaners on mine just to make them a little bit more secure. We don't want to move it around, especially if they're going to be on a front door with wind and other weather. So we will attach these with the pipe cleaners, just sort of lace it again through the wire frame underneath so they stay in place. All right, so now we have the finished product. You can see our embellishments here with the full mesh around the wreath, and there you have it.